Bitcoin has not shown us any bearish momentum just yet. So does that mean we can reach all-time highs real soon? A new all-time high potentially, right? That's what I want to take a look at because this is getting very interesting. And I'm going to show you guys, I'm going to give you guys my personal view on it and what I think is personally the best way to approach this in the most cautious way, but still maxing out as much profit as we can make, uh, responsibly. And the first thing I want to go over real quick is the current reason we're seeing such strong momentum in Bitcoin right now, right? And that is there's a lot of things, but primarily I believe it's the U.S. China trade deal. And I'm gonna give you guys a little illustration on how I believe this can go, right? So I after trading for such a long time, I'm gonna give you guys a really like terrible looking uh, timeline. So I've noticed that there is anticipated news, then the news is pretty much guaranteed, but we still don't have details or official details on what this can really look like. So basically, what I want to go over is the anticipation, the confirmation that the news is it's gonna happen, and then the news actually happen and how the price tends to react during that time frame. So what we have is for a while, and mostly this started back when Bitcoin had that third final dip, deep value dip back here, and then the anticipation rising the price much higher, which was that, right? So this is the price starting to pick up steam due to the anticipation of it. Then right here we have, just like the article I just showed you, at least the headline of it, we have confirmation that hey, it's legitimately happening, but we don't have any official details just yet, right? But or at least the confirmation of the anticipation being valid pushes the price much higher. And then what we're waiting on now is the official details for this anticipated news that turns out to be valid, and it was truthful, right? So when the news comes out, we at least we're waiting for the news to come out. We're seeing fluctuations weakening as we approach the date, and then when the actual details come out, the question is this just another? We've seen so many solo news events. So is this another news event where all of these all of these investors and traders have been buying early and building up the price, putting so much money and volume into the price, and then the news comes out and they all sell, right? Sell the news event, and the price comes back down to whatever support we're looking at, and then from there, um, the discount happens, and they and a lot of other investors and traders begin to buy, and that pushes that price to a new all-time high. That's how I'm personally viewing this until it happens, and I'm either proven wrong or not. That's at least how I am, you know, prepping myself, because I believe that's the most realistic view is all of this volume, no proper retracement, so much volume, so much bullishness, and then the news details finally come out, it's official, and we can see a little bit of you know uh, last minute, like, oh my gosh, it's real, it's actually happening, all the details are super positive, and then it's like a fake out, and then the price drops. It's like, how likely is that? And I think that's very likely. We've seen that happen, something like that happen so much, where I just automatically by default go straight into that mindset, right? But here's the thing: how does that news, or at least believing that to be the most probable case at the moment, until we are either proven wrong or not, how can we prepare ourselves and trade currently, waiting for that price action to happen, or whatever comes our way, right? Because at this point, we have so much bullishness. All time highs is right here. I'm actually going to change this because it's kind of close to the same colors that up there. I'm going to make it a blue. We'll call that the skyline, right? So that's the all time high price. That's where the sky is. Everything above that is outer space, right? So, and then the moon will be like 130K and above, right? So how can we prepare ourselves to trade well, right? And this is how I'm personally. I'm not gonna give you guys a bunch of different like cases and like different things that can happen. I'm just gonna tell you guys exactly what I'm doing, based on my own experience and how I'm managing my trades going forward, right? So I noticed that we have this consolidation with, very much extended price. We're above our, my extension area for Bitcoin, right? So I wasn't anticipating the price to go up this high, above this area, and continue to hold above it so much. And I would create new fib extension areas, but it's not going to be something strong to really. It's not healthy to create new extension areas out of like hope or biasness or anything, with further extensions, because at that point, the start of the price action going forward and pushing the price higher, um, we really don't want to create any additional ones, because at that point we're just basically forcing a price action instead of trading the price action as it is. So I'm not going to do that. What I'm going to do instead is this. I'm going to, and I said this in so many videos. I said this since we were back here. I kept saying like 93K seems to be a really strong support. I would use it as just underneath that a strong stop loss, but continue to take small long positions to capture as much upside as possible, because until we have bearish confirmation, and bearish confirmation is a break of our most important support, would lead us to much lower prices. So we want to get a stop loss to bring us out of the trade if that happens. But if the price continues to go up, we want to at least have some exposure, and a responsible amount of exposure where we can continue to profit off of further upside, right? And continue to make more money. So, and that's how I'm approaching this area as well. So I'm not treating this any differently than I'm treating this area before we had the additional pump. So what I'm doing here is that we are still respecting this support line fairly well, actually. We had just earlier today, just a moment, like, I don't know, like 2 hours ago, we had like this pump stretching this previous swing high a little bit, and then a quick drop, but the drop is still holding the support line. So how I'm approaching this is I'm continuing to hold small long positions, and I'm going to continue to acquire small long positions until the price reaches a support line and breaks below it. The moment it breaks below support, that's when I plan to get out of the trade and buy back in at a much more reasonable support, right? So currently, if the price continues to go up higher, great. We have small long positions to capture as much upside as we can without hurting ourselves badly, right? So the resistance will be, of course, this will be all-time high. We have a little bit of a, fairly solid. This was the previous like swing high before, when the price decided like, hey, we're confirming a lower high from right here. So this could have just been a little bit of fluctuation. And then we had another deeper, fluctuative move where the price came down lower, breaking these support lines. And then it rose back up, failing to break past this resistance right here. So I'm considering this line right here in yellow to be a cautious sign of like, hey, this was previous confirmation of bearish momentum. It's just something to keep an eye on. And then the blue line is, of course, all-time high. So how I'm approaching this right now is I am continue, right? Like I said already, I continue to acquire small long positions to capture as much upside as possible. I'm looking to minimize the positions at this yellow line, but I want to keep, positions, and I want to still keep some exposure into Bitcoin, because all-time high can easily be tested until we have bearish confirmation, and the price is actually currently trying to break below this support line. So we'll see how that evolves going into this trading week. But I want to keep holding on to Bitcoin until, we finally break over all-time high, and then maybe go up to like 109, 110K, before we can really like start worrying about like a proper correction happening, right? Even though it can happen now, but then we have, of course, much higher prices real soon. I believe will happen where we'll see well above 120, even 130, 140, even 150K, all the way up there. But that's pretty far off, and we're still we're stretching this RSI, this 120, or not the RSI, the 120 moving average so much, and we haven't really seen the moving average like point downward at any moment whatsoever for a while. So I'm going to continue to acquiring those small long positions, and my current stop loss is right here, just underneath this swing low. This swing low Well, if we break below the swing low at 102,300, then that opens up the pathway to try to capture these imbalance areas right here. As you can see, we have plenty of imbalance that can act as potential magnets for a retracement for the price to go up higher. On top of that, we can even say like, hey, we have this, I'm going to show you guys right now. We have this trend line. We can even, how accurate would this actually be? Because we have the trend line breaking right here, then it keeps going higher. It's not super significant, so I'm not going to worry about it. Instead, we're going to worry about the actual, there we go, the actual retracements within each structure. So we have right now, if we were to break below this support and break below the 102,300 support, I'm looking to acquire at this previous resistance, which is going to act as support in the future. If we come down to this support line, which is perfectly aligning with the 0.618 retracement at 97.8K, what this allows me to do is it allows me to observe the price fill in these imbalances. This imbalance right here was filled, as you can see, before the price went up much higher. So I'm not going to worry about it. Instead, we're going to worry about these three right here. This one being super less probable just because it's above the retracement, but it's also too close to the support, which it kind of takes away any significance that it has, in my opinion. So these two areas right here are the ones I really want to pay attention to. And again, these areas align perfectly just above the support line within the retracement. So I am not going to be holding any long positions below 102,300 stop loss, right? If the price continues to work its way up higher, or even reaches support, doesn't hit the stop loss, reaches support, or even, you know, either it goes from here or it goes down to support and goes up higher, then we're looking to finally hit all-time highs and maybe break it just a little bit. If we break below this, sweet, I'm out. Didn't take much of a hit there. And then I'm looking to acquire again at the discounted portion of this retracement. This allows me to put a stop loss underneath this area just a little bit, like 97K 500. It allows me to get out again, not much of a hit taken at that point, and then it allows me, if the price goes up higher, I'll have more exposure at a much better price to ride any rallies that happen back up to all-time highs. Now, the most significant area to take a look at is if we break below this support line at 97.8K. If we break below this, this allows us to finally have the much anticipated overall significant retracement, because this red retracement area, is factoring in the all-time low from these three dips, right? So the very much the low at 97.5K and the current high within the structure of 95,100, or 95, I can't talk, 105,500, right? So it's factoring in this whole move up. Last time we had a proper retracement was down here where we filled in this imbalance, filled in perfectly 0.5 retracement before the price went up higher. We haven't seen a proper retracement since. So if this support line right here at 97,000, what was that? 97,800 gets broken, then we can finally fill this in. This will allow us to factor in a lot of this fluctuation we have here, come back down to these levels, try to probably even fill in some imbalance we have right here at the 0.5 retracement, aligning perfectly with it at $89,680. So this will allow us to have that crazy, amazing, higher low, overall higher low, and it will allow us to acquire, long positions at a crazy deal, in my opinion. A crazy deal meaning that we have this rally that's breaking all these resistances, showing so much strength. It comes down, has a retracement, which can happen fairly quick. And then from there we acquire and then let it fluctuate higher, and make a significant all-time high. So until that happens, again, I'm going to give you guys an example in 2024 as well. But basically, we don't have bearish confirmation, so we want to continue to trade to the long, but in a way that allows us to do so responsibly, which will be, smaller position size, enough to still, enjoy the profits if we break up higher. At the same time, tight stop loss, in case the price does finally break down and reaches these retracements. This will allow us to get out with not taking much of a hit. So tight stop loss, small positions to max out, continue to max out our profits if we were to continue and try to hit all-time highs and make a new all-time high. And then on top of that, we have a second level of support. So if we do get stopped out and the price finally comes down and begins to fill in these imbalances, begins to fill in this blue retracement area for this whole move right here, this will allow us to acquire just below 100K, just about 100K, but ideally just below it, 0.5 being the $99,200 level, begin to accumulate new small sized positions. Again, with the anticipation of the price potentially coming down here, but if it rallies, then we have that exposure. If it breaks below the trend line, or not the trend line, the support line we have right here at 97,800, so the stop loss will be just underneath it, then we'll be again stopped out, not taking really much of a hit, and allowing us to conserve so much capital for when the price comes down here. Because at the moment, again, if it breaks below this support line right here, where the swing low, the micro swing low is, opens up the gate to this. If this fails and the support line is broken, then it opens up the gates to this. So we want to make sure that we get out of the trades early enough to conserve capital, but at the same time have enough to, if it does rally, we can continue to profit. If we do get stopped out here, again, we're looking at this area. If we get stopped out here, again, we're not taking much of a hit at all. And instead, we can start to, if we break below this line, it's very, very likely we can start testing this red area right here. There's a lot of reasons for the price to come down into this area. But if we do, then we're looking at accumulating within this area. And really, there won't be much of a tight stop loss for this one, because we can look at 2024 and factor in news characteristics or fear characteristics into what we're seeing now. So I remember during this time we had a lot of like inflation and news causing fear, basically with interest rates, and then we finally had like anticipation news, and then we had, of course, the confirmation of anticipation, and then more detailed information officially from it. So this allowed us to, break up from this previous swing high, allow us to break up. In this case, we didn't really fill the extension too much, but we did fill it briefly before we had a proper retracement. Then we continued to rally up much higher. And then we had another proper retracement. I think I showed this in the last video, where these dips actually fill in the reasonable retracements very well. And then we continue to do so, and we continue to do so as the price continues to go up higher. During this time, we had a big stretch up, and we haven't seen these imbalances get filled at all for months ahead before they finally got filled, of course, due to fear in the news. But what we're seeing right now is something very similar, where we're seeing that third dip, so the deep value, finally jumping up higher, breaking past previous resistances, and messing with that the extension. During this time, just like back here, during this area, we had, at the time, all-time high was right here in that yellow line. We eventually hit all-time highs, have a little bit of retracement again before we go up higher. So that's something we can look at potentially here as well. So we want to be very cautious of these value areas. So we haven't had a proper retracement after breaking a lot of these resistances, right? But of course, we can still profit off of this by keeping a tight stop loss and continue to take small long positions to the upside to capture the rest of the rally. And of course, since we are responsible traders, we know that, like, hey, we are overextended. All-time high is very, very near. Although we can reach it, it's very obvious that we can have a retracement before, maybe a healthy retracement, even down to here, before we have enough volume kicking back into Bitcoin before it pushes up much higher, and we don't want to miss out on it. That's, at the end of the day, we just don't want to miss out on a lot of these pumps. So quite simply, it's tight stop loss, taking small positions allow us to not miss out. Of course, if the price breaks support, then that's where our responsible trading comes in. We got out, not taking much of a hit, And then we have another area where we plan to get into. So accumulating within the blue, tight stop loss just underneath the support line right here. If we break it, cool. Tight stop loss, responsible trading kicks in. We're out. We're not really taking much of a hit, and then we're looking at accumulating once again in this area before we can go up higher. So that's just the like offense and defense kind of playing together to keep us in the profit as much as possible and getting us out and not seeing our profit really decay whatsoever. So again, guys, that's just how I'm approaching this trade. I do have currently a small long position to try to capture this, but I will be out if the price breaks below the swing low. I'll be accumulating once again here. If it breaks below the support line, I'll be out. I won't be taking much of a loss. So if it does hold, I'll be riding the price much higher to all-time highs. And then if not, we're looking at accumulating in this area before the price goes up much higher. So I'll keep you guys updated on this chart and what I'm doing, and if anything changes. Currently, yeah, the price is trying to break below the support line a little bit, but I'm just repeating myself at this point, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and like I said, I'll keep you guys updated, and take care.